Hey, ready, set, go. It's time to hit the mark. This that show you need to know about. We set ourselves apart. Sports talk at the pinnacle. We got all the knowledge, covering every level, helping these young men get to college. Got the coverage of a DB, vision of a QB coming at you like a DN. Let all of that sink in. Working in the weight room, we can't take no days off. Doing drills when they not looking, that's what make us stand out. Don't worry about how much time is left, we got it planned out. Execution, elite footwork, nasty when we running routes. Accuracy off the chain, we've been on it from the start. Reaching for the sky, hitting the bullseye, we on the mark.
What it do is Wednesday, the On Your Mark Show, live from the Fishbowl Radio Network, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel, every play I compete. We got a couple of course, we got my guy, Coach Jay, in the building as usual. He's on the road. Coast to Coast Athletics is what it is. But we got a special guest today, Al Pops. He's one of the top middle school scouts in the country. He's the lead scout nationally for Prep Red Zone when it comes to middle school identification, middle school showcases. He's the guy that you want to talk to around the country. We just had a big showcase for the middle school. The next up showcase over at Northern Catholic here in the DFW area on Sunday. We had some top talent out there. But today we're going to talk about getting identified early, getting exposure early before you head to high school. This is Pops Arena, and we're going to talk to him today. Pops, we appreciate you joining us, man. First of all, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm great. Thank you for having me. I know we talked about this last year, following the showcase, and then schedules just didn't align. But I'm happy to come on here today and talk with you guys. And Coach Jay, me and you go back, I don't even know, 10, 12 years. I think I met you ago. So it's really cool to see this circle.
Long time.
Absolutely,
yes,
man. Birds of a feather flock together, as they say. So, it's not uncommon. Of course, Coach Jay and I have been doing this here, working together for a while. And now I think myself and Pops have been kind of corresponding and working together for about 2 years, maybe 3. Usually when they have anything middle school going on here in the state of Texas, I'm one of the guys that he kind of calls or leans on to get to those showcases and start to see these athletes. So this is how this is transitioned, man, and I appreciate you giving us a little time today. But, what I like to do with guests is kind of go and backtrack how you got to where you are, in identifying top talent. It didn't just start with Prep Red Zone. Talk about your journey to where you got to.
Yeah, sure. So I'll keep this as not boring as possible because I'm sure people don't really give a rat's about how I got here. They want to hear about the kids, so I'll keep it quick. So got involved. Sports has always been a passion. Obviously played football, lacrosse. Was ready to go play in college until a knee injury. Really messed up all that. So I want to stay involved. Got an internship with one of the All-American games out there. And then from there, was employee number 3 at a company called Youth One Media, youth1.com, where I really started evaluating the middle school talent. I had always had a passion. Like for whatever reason, it's always fun for me to be the one to quote unquote find the kid rather than be the ninth recruiting or scouting reporter in line to talk to the kid who has 58 offers and could care less that I'm speaking to him. So it always means more for me to find those kids first. So again, internship, the All-American Bowl, over to Youth One, left Youth One, was at USA Football for 4 years as national scouting director there. Left USA Football, coming up on 3 years ago, and came over to Prep Red Zone Next to launch the middle school scouting portion for Prep Red Zone, which is all over the place and on the high school level. With a couple of years more than I've been working there, and a lot more scouts, so it's easier on the high school level. On the middle school level, I'm trying to build this thing up to get where I know the interest and excitement is there around the country.
Absolutely, it's big. I think identifying athletes early and getting them early exposure is something that we talk about. Probably on a weekly basis. Coach Jay, we kind of drive this home, and this is a thing that we talk about all the time. And Pops is now at the forefront of that. I think on a big level. That a lot of times, we get enamored with the high schools. With the high school athletes. The guys that are signing to colleges and things like that as far as recruiting goes. But this is a missed out area that I think is, starting to come to the forefront or to the surface of things. Coach Jay, just talk about that a little bit.
And the middle school portion is extremely important, and Pops has been instrumental for years in being able to identify a lot of the young guns from, the Youth One, USA, and now with Prep Red Zone. But the most important thing parents, have to understand is the earlier you can get kids out there and get them acclimated to a high level of competition, and then the consistency part, stay consistent on the back end, because none of it matters if you read the press clippings early and you fall off and stop working later. Then it's kind of, it doesn't do you any good. But the early exposure is great because you can be identified early as somebody to stay in touch with and to track the progress. That's the most important thing about getting eyes on you early, so you can be in that pool of guys that are being identified.
Right. It's a process, and it's a thing that you want to get started early as you can, and starting to identify these players early, and it benefits them in the long run to get identified and start to get that exposure early. Now, Pops, talk about what kind of things that you guys, have done with the middle school camps at Prep Red Zone, and what's the pure focus of it?
Yeah, man. So I just want to take a step back to hit on what you were just talking about. I remember I literally, for the first 6 months of my career at Youth One, was laughed out of local football games in New Jersey mostly, some New York, some Eastern PA. Literally laughed out off the field because, like, what are you, some creep or whatever, some freak coming here to look at little kids play football? When all I try to explain, and I will forever die on the sword, is that you can tell football talent early, just like all the Olympic sports, just like international soccer, just like minor league baseball teams are getting kids in there at 15, 16. European soccer teams have 13, 14-year-olds. Our favorite Olympians are probably younger than 18, the bulk of them in gymnastics and other sports. So the people that make fun or laugh and got the snide comments, guys, you're just not in it as deep as I am, and I understand that. That's totally fine if you want to make your comments, but you can tell talent early. So it's extremely important. I just wanted to hit on that point before.
And to back that up, Mark, he took a picture some years ago. I still have that picture. He still has that picture. And on that picture, I think all but one of those kids that was in the picture he took are playing Power 5 football now, and they were in the 5th or 6th grade. So absolutely correct. You can see talent very early. We have proof over and over and over again.
Absolutely. I mean, to piggyback off that, like, some of the kids, I'll just rattle off a couple names to you. Trevor Lawrence is a kid that we found early. Michael Carter, who just, I think he was with the Jets. I forget, he just signed somewhere else and scored recently. And then you look at the last couple Heisman Trophy winners, all kids that were identified before they graduated middle school. So I don't know if it's going to take some New York Times or Sports Illustrated to hit a story on this and make it resonate. But I don't know, it's the worst kept secret in American sports that you can tell football early. And that's the bottom line.
So,
absolutely.
Pops, talk to the parents now about what goes into getting these type of exposure, getting out to do it, and some of the things that they can start to get their recruiting process and exposure process for these young middle school athletes.
Dude, that's a great question, and it's so multi-layered. I mean, ultimately, I think if you're the parent, you got to have a real conversation with your. I'd say around 7th grade is when it really starts to turn a corner. If you're going to be in this thing and you want it to be an outlet for you or an opportunity to get to college or just make it out of where you're from, if you're serious as a 7th grader and if you're serious as a parent, you got to have that conversation and ultimately say, all right, now what's the roadmap to where I got to go? Okay. If the kid says, it's a fun thing, I like sports, hey, maybe you go do some of those, insert NFL name player here, run around, get a free T-shirt and an autograph. Maybe those are your camps. And that's totally cool. If that's what you want to do, at least you're not sitting on the couch playing video games and eating cheese doodles and getting fat. But if you want to go play college football or play after your high school years and you think you're serious about this, then let's get invested in it and do it the right way. And if you got that commitment from both sides, the parents who are shelling out the money that they don't have to travel all over creation for football and all that, and the kid who says he wants it is in, then you make a plan. And I think what you got to do, ultimately, I explain it this way. If the ultimate goal is to be playing college football on some type of scholarship, you need to go where college coaches are able to see you, work the camp, touch you, feel you, measure you, all that stuff, or else you are just paying money to a sports marketing firm who says they run football camps. If college coaches cannot subscribe to it or they are not there in person, physically there, you are wasting your money, period.
Well, I think that's a big thing. I've been with Prep Red Zone for about 4 going on 5 years now, probably about 4 years. Each camp has a college coach at it. Each college coach and high school coach are working the positions. They're time in the 40s. They're doing all of the drills. So there are college coaches present at the middle school and the high school showcase. It may not be, the bigger schools can't probably be involved, but there are college coaches there. So here's a nugget there. A lot of times these college coaches revolve or run through revolving doors, and they move on to bigger and better things. The coaching carousel changes. You can see it if you follow NFL, college, any level of football. The coaching carousel is always moving. These guys definitely could be at a different position in a few years, which equates to a middle school guy in 4 or 5 years. That coach sees you there, follows you, you keep in a relationship with him. Yeah, he could be at Texas Tech. He could be at Kansas. He could be at Georgia Tech in a number of years. Building that relationship now, identifying that early, behooves you or is in your best interest.
Amen to that. And to boil it down even simpler, I mean, one of the things my parents have told me, and I don't always listen to it, was they always told me never burn a bridge because you never know when you might need to cross it back, right? So it's the same thing. It's like life. You make a relationship with somebody. Don't let it end badly. Do everything you can to not let it end badly because you don't know when that person is going to circle back in your life. And these college coaches, you hit it, Mark. So what are we all doing? We're all trying to get to the best in our profession, the best quality of life. We're trying to be the best. At least I hope you wake up and you're trying to be the best at something, right? That's the same thing for these Division III colleges. You think they want to be making $11,000 a year and getting a stipend for food from the cafeteria at Northwestern East State School for the Blind? No, they want to be at Alabama. So those guys are working their way up too, just like these players are, just like all of us are in the sports world. We're all trying to work it up. So keep those relationships positive and make inroads with these guys. Like you said, that may be a D2 or D3 coach right now. You don't know where they're at next year. You have no clue. Those guys don't know where they're going to be at in 2-3 years. It's wild.
Absolutely. Everything about it, in recruiting is relationships. A lot of times, we talked about this in the past. You see offers go out to these younger guys. That's just to establish the relationship. They can't sign a scholarship as a 9th or 10th grader. They can't even really have too much contact with them because those are violations from the NCAA. We've been in the past where we've seen 8th graders sometime get offers. That's just to build the relationship. But if you build it and stack it, then you eventually come back around, like you said, Pops, full circle. And that relationship is still there, and you've established it early. And oftentimes, that's the way that you get yourself in the door.
Absolutely. Sometimes, like, there are certain schools or places in this country that I can't go unless somebody's like, hey, this guy's all right. And if you don't have those relationships with somebody, especially in the sports world where, it may seem big, but it's really, really not. Everybody knows everybody. That 6 degrees of separation they talk about in life is about a 2-degree separation in the sports, the football world in particular. So you got to know those people. You got to keep those relationships strong. And to your point, those 8th grade scholarship offers, dude, those are the things that kind of keep me having a job, more or less, like, because that interest is there. But as you said, that is just hey, we like you. We like you. We want you to come to camp. This summer, give us your $75 and get on campus. And then we can start to see if we really, really like you. And then you won't know until, that senior year when it becomes signing day, if you get that offer letter and everything else.
Absolutely. And that's the way it boils down to in a nutshell. It's getting started early. Prep Red Zone, the Next Up Showcase, has been at the forefront of identifying younger talent, middle school talent, youth talent. There were some guys there in the 6th grade that, I could see that are going to be really good players by the time they get to high school. It's just a building block. It's steps to it. It's levels to it. And, Prep Red Zone, the Next Up Showcase, is one of the forerunners really establishing that right now. But let's switch gears a little bit, Pops. Let's talk about some of the guys that stood out. We had 4 scouts on hand, in constant contact with you through the weekend, still in constant contact with you. Talk about some of the guys that stood out. You got 2 MVPs, and then it kind of trickles down from there.
Yeah, for sure. And before I even get started, hat tip to you and Michael Knight and a couple of the other guys that, I've been talking to off and on since the camps. We had 3 this weekend. We were in Illinois as well for our Midwest camp. And then we were in Tennessee too. So all the work that's coming out of Texas, multiply it by 3. And that's kind of just how this works. Like the ones that I get to, I can. The ones that you guys go to, you guys knock it out the park. So hat tip to you guys for all the hard work. But in terms of some individual kids, the one kid that really jumps off, and I know you guys are Texas-based and Texas football rules everything, but the kid Josiah Dickerson, the running back out of Oklahoma, 5'6", 150. He came to 2 camps last year, 1 this year. He just posted a video of him bench pressing 250, I think, for 1 or 2 reps. And then he was also clocked at a 4.59 in the 40. So if you're telling me there's not high school, I know Oklahoma's not big on the private schools, but if there's not a coach interested in a 5'6", 150 running back in the 8th grade that puts up bench numbers like he does and speed numbers like he does, you're lying. Anybody in America is interested in that right now. He was really impressive.
He was very impressive. Stout build, already kind of muscled up. He kind of, he's built a little older than his age. Well-spoken. Yeah. I was standing right there when he busted that 4.5, and, eyebrows were raised. You kind of know when a fast time comes and everybody starts to look around and make that sound. You know what I'm saying? And, he's in Oklahoma now, but he was in Texas for a little bit. He was in the Prosper area, and they moved to Oklahoma. So he's really a Texan. Mm-hmm. But he's going to be the top guy coming out of, in my book, until somebody else how I come across him, he's the top guy in that class at the running back position in the 8th grade in Oklahoma. I haven't seen anybody else, but that's to be seen. But, he was super impressive, Pops. You would have definitely been, having a long conversation with this guy.
Yeah, no doubt. He's going to be going to Washington High School in Oklahoma, and they got Steven Alexander, who played in the NFL. He's got 2 sons on that team now. One's a sophomore, I believe one is a senior, and both loaded up with Division I offers. Josiah's, he's a couple inches away from getting a couple scholarship offers himself. So the rich get richer there.
Absolutely. Sakura Cooper Jr., a silky smooth wide receiver. Listen, he's in the class of 2029. He's still got another year in middle school. Lifo Cliff, shout out to my guy, Coach Welton Johnson over there. They have some talent over there. And, Pops, this whole team in that school is buzzing about this talent. They're going to be making some noise in the state of Texas when they get to the high school ranks. And I would say 2 to 3 years, you're going to know these guys. But Sip is a guy that you have to see live. Talk about Cooper a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love what I've seen of him on film and the clips that he sends. And, part of this early exposure situation is walking that fine line of not annoying the hell out of me with 1,000 DMs or tagging my name when I already get, 20 notifications within 3 minutes. Like, you don't need to tag me in a 5-yard out for and then get lit up by a tackle. Like, that's not something I need to see. But what he did, what Cooper does and does a lot of his teammates do, they keep me up to date with, hey, here's some film from the last couple of weeks. Here's what I'm working on. Here's where I'm going. Just a DM or a message. I might not even respond to it, but I see it, and I know those kids are working. And then I'll make a mental note to go back and look to see how they did. And that kid has done the social media game well. So to whoever is helping him navigate that, hats off to you. But regardless, back to his play on the field, he was nasty from what I'm reading and looking at the times and measurements and all that. And then his teammate, you're talking about Lifo Cliff, Dana Edwards, man, the defensive back. Not somebody that will necessarily fly off at you looking at measurables, 5'4", 130 or whatever he came in at. But, man, he's a tough little corner, and he is ball hungry over there.
Absolutely. Sticky defender. Very sticky. Right now, at a young age, it's about being functional, the movement being sound, the footwork being sound, and he is just not giving you any room to breathe. That's the reason he got the MVP. He didn't lose any reps. And then he ran well. Quickness in between space. He was, one of the top guys in the 5-10-5, the L drill and the shuttle drill, and he ran a decent 40 time. The ceiling is very high for Dana. And I really, really was impressed with him, and he was a guy that got the defensive MVP. But I'll move to before we get you out of here, Pops, the big fellas down front. Jarrell Scott is going to be a dude, and he's in the class of 2029. Kind of a 3 technique, nose guard type, but real thick. Below the lower half, broad shoulders, and he really pushed the pocket. He was one of the guys that stood out in the one-on-ones. Talk about Scott a little bit.
Yeah, I like him too. I mean, he's got great size already for being only a 7th grader with another year to go. He's another kid. So a lot of the work that I get to see is just what I see on film, right? Unless I get out to all these camps, but there's a million every weekend that I can go to. And with 2 little kids of my own, you guys know how difficult that is to be able to get out without your wife or the kids getting mad at you. But a lot of the work I do is off film, and he's got some impressive film, man. Like he looks way more, or he came across way more athletic than I ever thought he would be. And he did a really, really nice job. One of those guys that could probably do some interior or D-end work at this point, depending on how he grows and all that good stuff. But he did a really, really nice job reading the reports and notes that you guys have sent back. Another guy that I liked was Julie G. I hope I'm saying that correctly, out of Waxahachie. I mean, that's a program that always has 1 or 2 kids that you need to know about coming out of, their 8th grade class every year. And he's another one that I think eventually turns into a full-fledged defensive end, given how long his arms were. 6 foot 225, and the fact that he is getting ready to enter high school. I mean, there's no reason. Now I don't know what his genetics are, but there's no reason that's not 6'2", 235, 240 by the end of his freshman year. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to look forward to there.
Absolutely. He was one of the top D-line standouts And Waxahachie is one of those teams that has a plethora of athletes. He'll fit in well there once he matures, and he was definitely a guy that caught my eye over there with the D line. Another young guy in the class of 2025, Jeremiah Moore, was very quick. He plays more than one position. I was really impressed with him. But Pops, I'll tell you a guy last guy before we get out of here with you. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Simone.
I know where you're going.
Listen, you got to see this guy's film, and he has a brother that was in my opinion, and I'll send this to you here before the day is over. His brother's an offensive lineman, and he was probably the O-line MVP. But this guy could have been the MVP. If everybody had an overall MVP. Listen, Simone is a dude. You got to watch this film.
Yeah.
He can play running back. He can play linebacker. He can play DN. I would let him return kicks. He's going to be a guy. It's going to be hard to keep him off the field as a freshman over at Trinity. This is going to be a guy in about 4 or 5 years that should be one of the better players in the DFW area. Depends on where he shakes out on the offensive or defensive side. But look, his cut up, his film is outstanding. And, he's bigger and faster than you think he is. For kids that are just average in that grade, he's a man among boys. Talk about him just a little bit. I was super impressed when I started watching his film.
I see. I knew you were going to go there with him, and I brought up his film as you were talking. The first, we're in here, a minute and a half in, are all running back plays. And I'm telling you, he passes the test for me nationally as a running back at this point. And here he is winning defensive line, or standing out as a defensive lineman. Trinity's got a nice little Polynesian train in there, man. They got a bunch of big Polynesian kids and families, and he's that next one that's coming up. He is scary athletic. And to your point, I don't know if he stays defensive line. Does he become defensive end? Can he be a linebacker? Given his skill set, I mean, and just how fast and aggressive this kid is, with some training, maybe it's a middle linebacker, outside linebacker, or a 3-4 defensive end if he gets big enough. He really is a mystery, and I think athlete's probably the best position designation I can give him. But this kid is different.
Absolutely. Well, you really didn't get a chance to see a whole lot because he was, he picked one position to go to. Maybe that's what he's comfortable at, but he could have easily been a running back standout and pushed Dickerson for MVP. But, the film is, and you know what? I'll repost this later on if you follow me on Twitter, and I'll post it to my Facebook as well and Instagram later on the day. But you got to see this guy's film. He did it the right way. And Pops, we talk about film evaluation all of the time. His first 5 plays, like you said, were running plays, and he's listed as an athlete. It's going to be hard for Trinity to keep this guy off the field as a freshman. I love him at running back, and Trinity's that type of running team, a power running team, where he'll definitely get some carries. I see this guy coming in next year and really, wherever they put him, you definitely could see him at a Mike linebacker where he can flow from side to sideline and make tackles and be, disruptive as that, and even rush the passer. The ceiling is super high for this guy. I really think he's going to be a top prospect in Texas before he graduates high school.
Yeah, I don't see how. Well, I mean, bearing anything bad, grades, off the field stuff, whatever. Not even going to go down that road. But athletic ability alone, size alone, right now at 6'1", 220, or whatever he measured in that officially, this kid would start on majority of the varsity programs around the country. Maybe outside some of the football hotbeds. This kid right now in January of his 8th grade year would start and get postseason honors in most schools around the country.
Absolutely.
Good.
I'm seriously, man. I was really impressed with Simone, up close and personal, but really seeing his body work on film. I think this is the whole ordeal, the whole thing that Prep Red Zone Next identifies. He got in front of the right people this weekend, and that's going to jumpstart his high school profile going into this year, next year, and the next couple of years. This is a guy that we'll be seeing at the forefront for young players in the next couple of years. Well, Pops, man, I appreciate you giving me some time and coming on and hopping on short notice. For anybody that's looking for you on social media, go ahead and give me those social medias. Share that with us before we go.
Yeah, man. So I made it as easy as possible. On Facebook, which I'm barely on, Twitter, which I'm on all the time, Instagram, which I'm on all the time, is at Al Pops Football. ALPOPS football. There it is.
Real simple, real good. Listen, man, I appreciate you, man. We'll be talking to you soon. We're going to come back, take a small break here on the On Your Mark show, and we're going to talk about the Texans Titans Elite Tryout. It's a 5-on-5 competition sponsored and driven by Prospect Sports 707 and the Flex Zone 101. That means that we will be there, myself, Coach Jay, this weekend over at Duncanville High School. We'll take a small break. Again, you're enjoying us. We appreciate you tapping in the On Your Mark show right here live from the Fishbowl Radio Network. We'll take a small break. We'll be right back. It's that time of year where you're looking for uniforms for your baseball team, your softball team, maybe even your basketball team. Or either you want to look lightning fast on the track, holla at Epic Sports Apparel. We can get you that gear that you need to be epic every play you compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Do you rewrite the narrative? Follow Epic Sports Apparel on Twitter, and I am Epic247, on Instagram at Every Play I Compete, and on Facebook at Epic Sports Apparel. Rewrite your narrative. Just wake up and go hard. Be epic. Parents, coaches, you know here on the On Your Mark show, we're always preaching and pushing muscular recovery and prioritizing biomechanical muscular balance. The source for all your kids' athletic muscular care is the Integrated Biomechanic Therapy Youth Athlete Sports Program. IBT is at the forefront of revolutionizing athletic muscular care with position-specific protocols. Every position has specific demands and needs on a football player. Whether you're a quarterback, defensive back, wide receiver, or you on the O-line or D-line, IBT provides football players with safe, effective muscular care and education to reduce the likelihood or impact of injury. IBT protocols have been shown to increase speed, improve muscular strength and balance, improve range of motion, as well as reduce soreness and more. Make sure you check out IBT for all your sports therapy needs for your specific position. Wendy has 2 locations, one in North Dallas and one in Carrollton. Call or text IBT at 459-560-3200. That is 459-560-3200. Get in the game. Get with IBT for your muscular and therapeutic needs for your athlete. Man, great stuff there, man. Make sure you tap in with Wendy. She's doing a great job with that. She's been a guest on the show, and she'll probably be back mid-year to talk about some more things, preventative injuries. Let's talk about the Texans Elite 5-on-5 Elite Tryouts. They'll be at Duncanville High School this weekend. Of course, myself and Coach Jay will be in the building for that. Coach Jay, come in and talk about what the genesis was of getting this together.
So, parents, guys, Mark, 5-on-5 is a huge deal on the West Coast, Florida, and in the Midwest. If you don't believe me, go to your Instagram, look up California Power, and that's all you need to see. They have over 40 linemen from all over the country, and these guys are your 4 stars, 5 stars, and they're going all over the country competing.
Well, again, we lost Coach Jay for a second, but we'll bounce back. The Texas Titans Elite Tryout for 5-on-5 for linemen. It's a regional tryout. It's January the 13th, which is this weekend at Duncanville High School. So the genesis of what I'll share this with you because I've been talking to Coach Jay about it. The off season here is now started. And the linemen kind of get left out in the cold a little bit as far as trying to have camps for them, things that are specific to them. Of course, 707 is big now around the country, especially in Texas, South regionally, because, the weather's better here in the South than it is kind of, in the northern parts of the country. And, we got to get something for these guys to compete. And, Coach Jay, you were talking about the team from California that's really big, and they travel around and doing the 5-on-5. And that was kind of, where you and Coach Joe and some other guys that are going to be spearheading this kind of got this idea to bring this to Texas. Because, listen, Texas is where it is for high school football. You got some of the best linemen in the state of Texas, and some of these lower classmen that, are not on the radar yet. Sometimes they get missed and don't have something to go to specifically for them. Just, continue to share what
Absolutely.
you were talking about that.
So, sorry about that, guys. The call dropped. But shout out to Raymond McNeil. one of the head guys over at California Power, reached out to me last year and said, "Hey, man, we need a platform to, compete." And I said, "Hey, come, we will put you right on the same football field while the 7-on-7 is going on, so all the fans can see it." And he absolutely loved it. Brought a busload of amazing linemen, and I could really only find a few in the Houston area. So I've been really pushing the high school, the 7-on-7 coaches to give the linemen a platform in Texas, because guys are coming here to compete, but we are kind of not really up on what 5-on-5 is. So just, going over it, you have 5 O linemen against 5 D linemen. They go one at a time, and there is a point if the O lineman does not let the D lineman get by, that's a point towards the O line, so on and so forth. So it goes back and forth, and it is a team concept. So your team, the team that scores the most points, win. But amazing work, amazing exposure for the linemen, and it gives them more reps, and it gives them the same platform with us that they do the 7-on-7. So while 7-on-7 is going on, we're doing the lineman competition at the same time. You have your own field, half field, where you can compete in front of the same fans, and you get the same love. And there were more people actually watching the linemen than they were the game. So it's important to give the linemen that love, because, again, go back to what we always say, no line, no shine. So we're just providing them with another opportunity to get some high-quality reps. And if you have 4- and 5-star guys traveling all over the country just to compete, when they don't have to, a lot of these guys were sitting on 30, 40 offers. So they didn't have to do it, but they were doing it because they want to continue to get better and they want the exposure. So why not put yourself in a situation where you're going again? It's the same thing Al Pops and you, Mark, and we're always preaching. Early exposure is the best. And what better way to get exposure than to come out and compete against the best? So, again, shout out to the guys that are out in front of promoting it. And Duncanville was gracious enough, shout out to Duncanville, Coach Joe, to say, hey, let us jump in and let us see if we can help build this thing. So I'm looking for more coaches. I'm challenging more coaches, more teams to start building your 5-on-5, whether it's the younger guys, the older guys. Build it out so we can give them a platform to compete and market them as well. What is not going to hurt.
Well, as I was telling earlier, it's a lost art when it comes to getting these guys the exposure for themselves. I was speaking about, the off season. It's heavy on 7-on-7 now. It's about to really get kicked off here in a couple of weeks around the country. 7-on-7 is for the skill guys. This is something that the big guys can come in and get that work and go against some of the best competition around the country. You spoke about the California group. They really, really get after it. And they travel around. They don't run from smoke at all. And they got some of the top prospects in the country that travel around with this particular group. But you saw them firsthand last year. You had an event down in Houston that you spoke about. This is something that's about to catch on, and I think that, kudos to you. Shout out to my guy, Coach Joe, over at Duncanville, and a couple of more guys. They're really, really trying to get active with this thing. And speaking with Coach Joe this weekend, and I've talked to him a couple of days this week, it's about to pop off. I think that, and more coaches are starting to catch hold to it. And, Coach Jay, it's about to get real active with it. And I think, this weekend is the jump starter for this particular area of the country in the state of Texas.
I think it's important, especially in the sense of, to come to the realization that Texas is actually behind, when it comes to actually promoting it. Now, you do have, the lineman competitions that they do at the school and, things like that. So not saying that they're behind and not doing it, just behind in the promotion part of actually going and having your linemen compete, just as a 7-on-7 team would compete as well, to where those guys are marketed. I mean, it was a beautiful thing to see. Of course, Mark, you and I are used to seeing, buses pull up with 7-on-7 kids get out, but to see a bus pull up and it's 40 linemen only, from all over the country, and these were studs. These weren't just average guys, all high school guys. And again, out of that 40, I think the coach said it was about 500 offers between, the majority of those guys. So that's a beautiful thing to see. And they understand the marketing. They understand. And these guys came out and competed. I mean, they competed against each other. They competed against the kids that I could find in the Houston area. So it's important for coaches to understand that, market your kids, put them in a situation where the kids that are getting marketed, put them in a situation to get more. Because now that you have NIL, you want every opportunity you can to get these kids an extra look so that their potential is always rising. And then the biggest benefit is, again, iron sharpens iron. So you're getting reps against guys that you may never face until you get to college. And then you may never face a Power 5 guy. You may never face, some of these guys ever. So to be in a position to do it is great. And we're building a few. Of course, we'll have it at every tournament, but we're actually going to do a couple where it's just for linemen only, the Final Five. One coming up in March. We'll have that date drop soon. And California Power will be in Houston. So I suggest all Dallas, wherever your lineman is from in Texas, you need to be there to compete against these guys, because they're not coming to play. They're coming to win. They have 10 coaches, 10 lineman coaches. So they're coming as if they're a 7-on-7 team only, and they're coaching these guys up. They're serious about it, and they're coming to win. They're coming to, really punish. And he said, man, we need some better competition in Texas. Last year wasn't enough. So I started reaching out and challenging all of my coaching guys to say, hey, man, listen, if you want these guys to keep coming here and walking away with, the bragging rights, it's nothing else.
Absolutely, and you got to beat the big dog in order to be the big dog, and I think that like you said, as far as this type of competition, this level of concentration just for the linemen, here in Texas, we're behind on that, and they've been at the forefront of it, and I think that this is something that's about to bubble. It's a lot of excitement around it. Of course, I know you're excited, but, Coach Joe was very excited. And a little nugget to share with you guys, we're going to have an extra On Your Mark show this week. It'll be 6 o'clock here at the Fishbowl Radio Network, and Coach Joe will be stopping by, and he will be bringing a special guest that's going to be a top lineman involved with it. I'll start to do some things here, probably starting between now and tomorrow to kind of let you guys know. But we got a special show coming up just to promote this, coming up Friday at 6 o'clock. You'll be able to see it right here on the Fishbowl Radio Network, and we'll get active and get live with my guy, Coach Joe. He's an offensive line coach at Duncanville High School. He's also a 2-time state champion. We definitely got to talk about that as well. But I think that this is a marquee thing, Coach Jay, that you have to look at in order to get this done. And then, the exposure piece of it is going to be beneficial to these guys when they come and compete in these type of avenues.
It is extremely important. Because, again, if you guys don't believe me, go and look at the following these guys are getting. Of course, California Power is a 7-on-7 and lineman, but they're giving their linemen just as much love as the 7-on-7 guys. So it's imperative. And they understand, how important it is to market their guys. They're doing a ton of different things to give those guys exposure. Most of them, already have a ton of offers. Still giving them exposure, still giving them a platform, and they're making sure that they're competing at a very high level. So it's important that we stay on track and keep a great understanding of what we can do to put our kids in position to be looked at.
Well, that's the main of the game. Shout out to Al Pops, Prep Red Zone next director, national director of middle school
Absolutely.
showcases. That's kind of what we talked about today. Is identifying these guys early. This is a thing that you have to do. This is what you have to do. Now, one quick question that I had someone ask in the chat. I don't know if you saw this, Coach Jay, but Chisholm Trail High School here in the Fort Worth area hired a new head coach in Rickland Holmes. He was the former head coach at John Tyler High School. He went down to Hutto for a year. Shout out to my guy, CJ Moss. I'm getting to your question before we get out of here. He wants to know my thoughts on Chisholm Trail's hire of Rickland Holmes. It's going to be a game changer. I'm sure you're familiar with Coach Holmes as well, Coach Jay.
Yes.
It's going to be a game changer. Look for Chisholm Trail, the culture to change immediately. Coach Rickland Holmes has a pedigree. He built some teams at John Tyler that were competitive. I think one year I remember they played Alito out in Mesquite. They were like in the semifinals. He's had some great runs out in East Texas. He went down to Hutto this past year, and they were successful. He was a position coach down there. And now he comes and he gets a job here. This happened last week at Chisholm Trail High School over in the West Fort Worth or northwest area of the DFW area. Immediately it's going to be a change. He's got a guy. You got a guy that knows football. He played at Oklahoma State. He played actually at John Tyler High School. Played at Oklahoma State. Played a little bit in the professional ranks, and then he's been in East Texas for a number of years, and now he's back. A little bit closer to home. Hutto's kind of like I think down by Austin and San Antonio. Well, it's down by Austin. It's a little bit north of Austin, northwest of Austin. Coach Holmes is going to change the culture. I hope to get over there. That's close to where I stay. And I've had a chance to talk to Coach Holmes. Coach Holmes. It's been a couple of years since he was at John Tyler High School. I think they call it Tyler High now. But that's Cujo for the guys out of East Texas. They're familiar with that. But I think that Coach Holmes is going to come in and change the culture very early. If they give him enough time to get in there and get that culture changed, bring that area back to loving football. Because I was around. I was coaching in that area. In the youth space when Chisholm Trail was first built. We're talking about a fabulous facility. I don't know if people have had a chance to go over to that area, but the school is very nice. So they have the resources there to get it done. They just haven't been able to establish a culture of winning there in a long time. Now they're kind of in a funky part of town where they're close to Eaton. South Lake's not very far. You got Northwest High School is kind of in the same corridor. Brewer High School, Alito is not too far. So there have been some areas that haven't had a chance to get to Chisholm Trail and build. And I think about Coach Holmes is he's going to build from the middle school ranks first. I know that's where he's going to start at and start to get these guys entrenched in what he believes. Just talk about that a little bit, Coach Jay. I know you're familiar with Coach Rickland Holmes.
Yes, sir. I think the most important thing when you look at the any program that we know, North Shore, Alito, those programs, the things that stand out is the culture and community. And now you have SOC, DeSoto, all these schools with long-term traditions of either winning a championship or getting close. Longview, they all have the community involvement. They have the culture and the buy-in. So the sooner these kids understand and the community understand that, hey, we have to sit down and say, hey, coach, what's needed of us? And then buy in and do it. It takes action, and it takes a lot of commitment to turn a program around. If they're willing to do the things, he's an amazing coach. So he's going to bring in the right pieces and everything to help them win. But will they buy in? That is the number one question. Will the community stand behind what he's coming with? And then everything will turn from there. So the faster the buy-in, the faster the commitment to excellence, the faster you're going to see things turn around.
Well, I think they'll buy in. He's that type of guy. He's charismatic, very upbeat, heavily involved, and he'll get those kids loving him very early. The coaching staff around him is going to be entrenched. I'm sure he'll get some guys in there that he's familiar with, system-wise and things like that. But to answer your question, CJ. That's what my thoughts are. I think that there's a change coming to Chisholm. It's going to take a little while because program building is something that you have to start at the lower levels. Like I mentioned, middle school, he's going to have to get in there and get those guys in that program. The great high school programs, like Coach Jay mentioned, they start from the ground up. And when we say the ground up, that's from the middle schools and getting those guys involved. Big focus, and when we talk about building from the ground up, it starts at the high school. If you look at the South Lakes, if you look at the DeSoto's, Cedar Hill even, and Duncanville as well, those guys run the same system that the high school's running. Those coaches that are at the middle school are coaching at the high school on the varsity level, the freshman level. So in order to have a program that's built that way, you have to start with getting your program down the line all the way down to the 7th and 8th grade ranks, running the same system, running the same schemes defensively, running the same ideas and concepts through the coaching staff as well. That's how you become successful in the long run. And I think that Coach Rickland Holmes knows that, and he's going to do that over there at Chisholm Trail. Super excited for that hire over there. When I saw it, I really, my antenna, my buzz went up because, we got to get over there and see some of his talent, have a relationship with him a little bit and see what he does with it. I'm super excited. That's a big hire here in the state of Texas in the offseason, Coach Jay, and we just wanted to touch on that a little bit. But
no, real quick.
Go ahead.
Parents,
Go ahead.
Parents, let me throw you guys a gem out there right now. We always talk about leveling the playing field, right? So if you have a kid, and again, being realistic, and you're at a school where your kid may or may not, be able to get to the varsity ranks faster because, again, they have guys ahead of them, then you might want to look at a school like Chisholm Trail because the playing field is going to be level. The coach is coming in and building the culture from the ground up. So if you have a kid that's, really good, but needs that extra kick to give him, an opportunity to get on the field, and you can be in district, to go there and kind of see what it's going to work out. Those are the kind of schools that you need to look at, because just because a kid is at one school and can't start doesn't mean he's not a starter at a different school. It's just who's in front of him at the school that he's at, and how long that kid is going to be in front of him will dictate. But we already understand that the earlier you can, get your kid on the football field, and it's not about competing. We have a misconception about, a kid standing competing, but if the guy in front of him is going to always be there, or two guys in front of him, what are you competing for? So you have to make it make sense and do what's best for you and your kid. But this situation, especially if I'm in middle school and I'm looking for high school, this is a conversation I want to have with this coach of what does it look like if we came here. So again, these kind of situations are amazing opportunities for all kids if you notice and you can see if there's a place for my kids.
Well, Coach Jay, we're out of time today. Appreciate that tidbit. Follow us here each week live on the Fishbowl Radio Network. Listen, special show 6 o'clock right here in the Fishbowl Radio Network. The On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Holla at us next week. Holla at us Friday. The On Your Mark Show live from the Fishbowl Radio Network. We out.
Hey, ready, set, go. It's time to hit the mark. This that show you need to know about. We set ourselves apart. Sports talk at the pinnacle. We got all the knowledge, covering every level, helping these young men get to college. Got the coverage of a DB, vision of a QB coming at you like a DN. Let all of that sink in. Working in the weight room, we can't take no days off. Doing drills when they not looking, that's what make us stand out. Don't worry. When we running routes, accuracy off the chain, we've been on it from the start, reaching for the sky, hitting the bullseye, we on the mark.